lot of people. And thank you very much for those who already opened their cameras. We are very happy to see a lot of cameras open, and we would ask you to open your cameras if you are not in very bad circumstances, because this is an online conference. But anyway, it will be great to see your faces, your beautiful smiles, and your feelings about cultural heritage preservation. Thank you very much for opening your cameras. I see you open your cameras. That's very nice to see. And also, as we are 500 participants actually registered from 60 countries, it will be great to see your countries and the places you are coming from. So feel free to text on the chat which countries you are coming from. So we will see the diversity and the global scale of our conference. I see Kenya, I see Cameroon, Georgia, Malawi, Italy, France, Ecuador, India, Nigeria, of course, Armenia, Afghanistan, Zambia, Peru, Uzbekistan, and a lot of others. Thank you for texting. That's great to see a lot of people from different countries. And actually, it's our great pleasure to one more time welcome you all to the Cultural Heritage Preservation International Online Conference. Actually, this is the first time with Kectil Armenia we are organizing such conference, and we are really very happy to gather together a lot of experts, UNESCO level experts who will be here, deliver speech, and make sure that you learn something from this conference. As I said, we are truly delighted to have you, because we have more than 500 participants from 60 countries and territories around the world, representing diverse cultures, experiences, and perspectives. Actually, for us, this conference is much more than an online event. It is a meaningful platform to bring people together, exchange knowledge, and discuss one of the most important challenges of our time, in especially a person, and Kectil Armenia, as you see by the name Armenia, coming from a conflict country and facing a lot of cultural heritage problems. We know how it is important, and we know that maybe a majority of you know about the history and about the events which we passed through. So if not, you will learn too. But we tried to do this conference not only about Armenia, but about the world, and not only by Armenians, but also about by the world experts and representatives. Today, when many communities and cultural seeds around the world are facing serious risks due to conflicts, we know, unfortunately, crises and different rapid changes, the need for cooperation, awareness, and this kind of collective events, I guess, should become more and more important than ever, because we need to protect cultural heritage, which means also protect our identity, be peaceful, and go for sustainable development. Today, we have our team members who will help us to organize this conference during these days, and I will just pass the speech to Anna Sahayan, Armenian, the team member of Kectil Armenia, who will announce the second part, the important information. You will be also very interested to listen, and then we will go already to our speaker and we will start.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Kectil Armenia, it is my pleasure to welcome you to our international online conference, Culture Heritage Preservation. My name is Anna. I'm a board member and head of Digital Art and Culture Heritage Preservation Department at Kectil Armenia. So first, I would like to thank Goharik for inspiring opening remark and for your continued support for this youth-led educational initiative. So every community carries a story. So these stories live in our monuments, museums, also in our languages, traditions, music, memories, and the knowledge passed from one generation to the next. So when we lose our cultural heritage, we lose a part of our shared human story. So this is why we are here today. And today it marks the beginning of our 4-day conference taking place from July 10 to July 12, also on July 18th, bringing together experts, researchers, students, young professionals from all around the world to explore more about cultural heritage, to better understand, protect, and preserve it. So together we will discuss international legal frameworks, peace building, heritage at risk in conflict zones, minority heritage, the role of international institutions and civil society, and the growing impact of digital technologies, artificial intelligence in safeguarding our past for future generations. So this conference is a youth-led initiative organized by Kectil Armenia in collaboration with our partners, valued partners, including CIRE, Center for Study, Preservation and Enhancement for Armenian Cultural Heritage, and European Heritage Hub. So I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our speakers and all of you for joining us from different parts of the world. So your participation reminds us that preserving cultural heritage is a shared responsibility. So before we would begin to have our speakers, I would like to share some practical notes. So throughout the conference, we would invite you to chat, to use the chat to ask questions for the speaker. And you will also find attendance form, which you will be asked to fill in during today's session, as it will be used to confirm your participation in this conference and to support certificate issuance. Is the speaker here already?
Yes.
Okay, so it is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker. We are honored to welcome Amra Hazimuhamedovic, President and founder of HIDR, Center for Peace and Heritage, Director of International Summer School Youth and Heritage, organized with cooperation with ICROM, and as a member of Europa Nostra Council. She also serves as an individual expert for UNESCO initiatives on culture for peace, UNESCO World Bank Culture in City Reconstruction and Recovery, contributing to global efforts to safeguarding cultural heritage. So, welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm here. It's my great pleasure to greet you all. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, because I can see that you are here from across the world. I have just switched from another event. In fact, I have been leading International Summer School Youth and Heritage for 21 years now. The school that has started in war-devastated town, World Heritage Place in Bosnia and Herzegovina as a tent camp where global youth were working as some kind of solidarity expression, but also learning how to integrate cultural heritage conservation into the recovery of society. So this year we are starting 21st edition, and this is our first day of work of the online orientation session. From a day-long lectures and listening to our participants, I'm now coming to this amazing group, and I'm so excited to switch from one group of youth, global youth, to another, which I consider as some kind of privilege in my life and in my work. I was not so privileged to have such events when I was young, although some of my professors when I was studying in Sarajevo and Belgrade were amazing and inspiring. But this kind of gathering, sharing knowledge and establishing network of people, thanks to the technology and the world that is somehow squeezed into the smaller place that we can come to each other and talk to each other and develop the networks is in a privilege that I didn't have in my life when I was at your age, when I was emerging professional. However, working with you and working with my students from International Summer School Youth and Heritage, which have become a huge, more than 1,000 people family, a network for over these 21 years, I somehow maintain some kind of a source of youth, and I feel very young because of that. And I would like to thank you for the patience. I will now share my presentation. Speaking frankly, as I have received the information that there will be hundreds of listeners from different parts of the world, it was difficult for me to decide which level of information I should develop, which form of this presentation should be, how technically oriented, how going deep into expert knowledge, and what is your background. And I assume that the background of the participants concerning heritage is diverse because of the huge number of you being with us today. So if you feel there is some time for discussion, and I will stop to enable the time when it comes, and I would like to ask Anna to warn me, to leave some time, because sometimes I speak as any professor, I speak with a passion. I just would like to ask you, stop me, ask me a question, clarification, and whatever you want. And now let me share the presentation. Okay, I hope that you can see the first slide. Yeah, I will also make some comfortable screen for me. So what is in fact the topic that organizers asked me to have during this, like a keynote address to you, is understanding cultural heritage, definitions, types, and global perspective. So the whole title is in fact a self-introductory. However, my speech will not be about the going into the history of the heritage perception and development. Although I was hesitating, I didn't know what is your, as I said, background, how much you are aware of it. I will, in fact, rather than that, reflect on some kind of retrospective of notion of heritage, of notion of monument, etc., through history. But my keynote address will, in fact, focus on this nexus between heritage, people, place, peace, and environment. So as you can see, the link here at this slide between the dash between place and peace is indicating how important situating of people in place that they consider center of their world, even if they do not live in it, but they consider their home, especially for those that lost their homes, is important. And place is usually something that we attribute, something tangible, something physical, in combination with intangible, with something what is not physical at all, in combination with the natural environment, historical and cultural context. The place is much more than physicality. And this place is something that we attribute the values to, those values that enable us to be what we are, what we want to be, and to feel that we are in fact installed in the world. This kind of feeling of being installed in the world that we belong to is the precondition for peace. For peace that means the peace with the human communities and beyond the human communities. Peace with our own like environment and context and with ourselves. And I put here environment as something that is extremely important for contemporary perspectives, global perspectives concerning cultural heritage, that these perspectives go beyond people-centered approach, beyond this anthropocentric approach that we have been developing recently. So I, in fact, will talk on the processes, how the processes, in fact, developed, briefly talk, because it demands the whole semester of the course, from a protected object, something that is passive, demanding some kind of care and actions, different kind of actions, administrative, legal, research, and physical actions from humans, from that protected object, to an agent of social, environmental, economic, trauma-related, and justice-related processes. As usually, I have to use a vignette from Bosnia, where my life started, where my career started, and where everything what I work on, perception of heritage and everything what I contribute to the theory of heritage and this ever-evolving perception of what heritage is, starts. The place that I call home. And I hope and I believe and I know through my research that each of you has either existing or, let's say, non-existing place that can be avoided in your mental map and in the physical maps that you call home. And these places that we call home are, in fact, the starting points in our lives. They define us and they define our views towards the world. They are the measure of the beauty, of the value, of ethics for us through all the life. So Bosnia, this among the other, these beautiful places, this is Old Bridge in Mostar, World Heritage Place with its surrounding home of mine.
In retaliation, the Croats targeted the Mostar Bridge, which Muslims had built 400 years earlier. It was 4 years to the day since the Berlin Wall had come down, ushering in the New World Order.
هو الدكتور كتب فوق الأعصاب. الأعصاب.
My question to you is,
ما السكر ومرض الخلايا من النوع اللي هو عنده النوع
someone is unmuted, so maybe it would be, we can, but I am looking. This is a question mark for you. How do you feel? Anyone?
Should we answer or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's destroying your past, destroying part of your identity. I personally feel very, very sad.
Great. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen, first of all, this was a report from a foreign journalist who was at that time in Bosnia. They use it, I don't know, is it BBC or CNN? You know, they were present during the war. And the very reporting is, in fact, simplification of heritage. Heritage, if there are any borders of defining heritage, any kind of definition, national, religious, geographical, etc., they are porous. Heritage crosses all the borders. And this reporter said, in fact, while reporting on destruction of this beautiful World Heritage place, that Muslims built it 5 centuries ago and that Croats destroyed it. Both of that is wrong. That is simplification of heritage and simplification of human suffering and violence, that we will talk a little bit about that. So those who built the heritage were this bridge, were those who lived around it. And they were together building it, together celebrating it, together attributing values to it through all these centuries without any kind of border between their religious, ethnic, gender, and the other personal identity. So those who destroyed the bridge were military forces. And one of the persons, so everyone was mourning around after the destruction of this bridge. And not only the bridge, because the destruction of this bridge sublimed destruction of 1,179 heritage places across Bosnia, and also sublime destruction of heritage throughout the history, because it marked switching in the perception, modern perception, let's say, contemporary perception of what heritage is, who needs heritage, and how heritage can be protected. So this nexus between people and heritage is something that even was inscribed in one of the policy declaration of UNESCO, which in fact raises the question, why do we care for heritage? Why do we care for these objects when human lives are lost, when children are crippled, when people are suffering because being uprooted from their homes and their homes destroyed? Why do we care for monuments? This is the image that I took, you know, and you can find these kind of photos across the world, at different places. This one is from Bosnia. Nothing different from those that we are seeing even today. So people need heritage not only once when the war is stopped, as UNESCO said. In UNESCO's document, it says once the wars will stop, people will start returning to their homes, and then they will demand the frameworks, the recognizable signs of their belonging to that place, and also some kind of a gate to return to the safe time and the zone of their life before their lives were disturbed by the adversities. And the destroyed heritage symbolizes that. Restored heritage symbolizes their, like a substantial return to those safe times of their life and the desired way of living. Not only because of that UNESCO, people need heritage even if they do not return. Even when they live in limbo between their home and nowhere or the other place of their refuge, even when they settled somewhere, when they when they integrate and socialize, they need this heritage to give the sense to their lives, to make this, to have this anchor, starting point, point zero, as Otto Bollnow, what Bollnow defines as a starting point of everyone's life, to heal the feeling of placelessness. So this presentation is about, let's say, brief definition of heritage, but more in contemporary perception than through the history, although we will tackle to that. Then I will trace the transition from monuments and objects to properties, to sites, to landscapes, and even ecosystems, heritage ecosystems, as we call heritage today, in all these nexus between nature, environment, culture, people, etc. And the part of my presentation is in fact testing the relevance of all these switching on the definition of heritage, like inventing new heritage types, which is ever evolving process, as we now can understand, through the questions how heritage works within conflict, within climate changes and challenges, within justice-related issues, within recovery, within development, or what we call sustainable development, and even with this world which is marked with artificial intelligence presence. So the challenges for work with heritage and heritage work today, so please focus attention to work with heritage and heritage work today, just to put them in a nutshell: global mobility of people, sometimes forced, sometimes willing, and fragmented belongings in all these mobility. The climate crisis that we are facing today, and that is in fact triggering disasters and catastrophes across the world, that also influence this global mobility. Digital transformation that is rapid, that changes the world not only on a yearly basis, but on a daily basis. And what is extremely increasing challenge is polarization and contested or constructed contested identities, construction of contested identities, some kind of polarization that throws people into the most devastating, the most bloody conflict. The world today is totally flooded with the armed conflicts. And these armed conflicts, a lot of them have all the components fill all the components of definition of genocide. And that includes also this cultural destruction of cultural heritage. So when I talk about this polarization and lack of peace at the globe, I do not see, I use the definition of peace and violence that Johann Galtung gave in 1950s when he was commissioned by UNESCO to produce a document on peace. Johann Galtung said that there is something that we call negative peace, and this negative peace is the peace where there is no direct violence. So this negative peace is something that you can see above this waving, like in this scheme that is here in this, the presentation. That is the waving line of visibility of violence if it exists. So if it doesn't exist, we have this negative piece without this direct violence. And direct violence is in fact physical harm. That means intentional acts, which are both visible and immediate. And examples of this direct violence are war, terrorism, physical assault, destruction of property. If there is not this direct violence, we live in negative peace. And even negative peace is present at the small portion of the world today. There are not a lot of countries and geographies that are not affected by this direct violence. But there is not a place in which what Galtung called positive peace exists. And positive peace means the peace in which there is no direct violence, in which there is no structural violence, and he defines structural violence as a harm embedded in systems and institutions, which is indirect, often invisible, and which is normalized. And we are now witnessing to a lot of structural violence, even in the countries that were some kind of the examples of democracies, and their credo is freedom, equality, equality of rights, human rights, etc. So the examples of structural violence are inequality, exclusion from education and opportunities, discrimination embedded in policies, unequal access to cultural participation. All of that is the evidence of all of that is the most visible in cultural heritage, in structural relationship and treatment of cultural heritage. Cultural heritage becomes, the definition of cultural heritage becomes exclusive, and it serves to enhance the structural violence. And the third, the most complicated type of violence, which exists when there is this negative piece, is cultural violence. And cultural violence goes beyond the structures, institutions, and laws. It operates through ideology, religion, language, historical narratives, cultural symbols. And cultural heritage is instrumentalized for cultural violence. So examples of that are us versus them, narratives that are producing this cultural violence, glorification of war, exclusionary national histories, denial or distortion of past violence, and cultural violence is usually reflected in denial of the values that the others, them, attribute to cultural heritage at one side, and also denial of right of everyone to attribute values to heritage that they us appropriate as something that is closed field of our responsibility, rights, and testifying only our values. So while all of these matters to talk about the shift in cultural heritage, it is because of the rapid urbanization. And, the heritage is not then considered only as an object. The cities, the life in cities, the whole ecosystems are considered as a heritage and they have to be treated because of the rapid urbanization, war and conflict, disasters, climate change, displacement, tourism pressure, real estate pressure, governance failures, etc. What do we do? How do we take away? Do we take away from this? Conservation of cultural heritage now works at the intersection of heritage, urban change, risk, and recovery. So all of that we can call resilience building, and resilience building as some kind of ability to absorb the pressures and not to lose the main character defining value of heritage, and also to be able to recover after different kind of pressures and extensions. So the question here is, what is the significance of heritage people nexus under conditions of this increasing complexity that we live today? How can heritage help societies negotiate violence, climate stress, displacement, cultural racism, loss of diversity, guilt that is present across the world because of the past, guilt that is transgenerational, that we inherit because of wrongdoings concerning racism, slavery, different kind of genocides committed by our ancestors in the past, guilt that we can have to cope with and to come to terms with. This in the same way as we have to come to terms with trauma from past trauma that we inherit as a transgenerational trauma, historical trauma, and the same, like it is the same is complexity as we have to cope with something what is the pressure at the present. So we have this responsibility. How can we use heritage to develop this responsibility and fulfill our responsibility, and to repair heritage without becoming a new instrument of exclusion? So now we are coming to type of heritage that I promise that I will tackle. I will not delve deep into this. So we can say that type of heritage, even in contemporary perception, are, and especially in contemporary perception, are primitive heritage. When I say primitive, it doesn't mean underdeveloped or something. I do not attach negative connotations. An opposite. Primitive is something that is developed from the impulse, natural impulse of human people. The different kind of rituals, different kind of the structures, different kind of relation and negotiation with the nature and with the context, different pressures, and that are something that humans did, produced by themselves without any kind of being specialized or educated for that. And that heritage is the most neglected, but the most informative concerning the meanings of human lives. So it came into our focus and focus of our interest recently. At the second half of 20th century, it was totally devastated, and overshadowed by the monumental heritage that is also in this line. The other type is vernacular heritage. Vernacular heritage is the heritage that is produced by people who are not experts, but are some kind of local barriers of a knowledge. We call them in Balkan region dunjers, like some kind of a craftspeople, masters, those who are barriers of the skills and knowledge. And this vernacular heritage is developed again through this transmission of the traditional wisdom, how to negotiate with the nature and the context, how to negotiate the conflicts that can erase, and how to provide livable spaces. It was also, vernacular heritage was also very neglected until 1970s. Monumental heritage and memorial heritage are those that have been recognized since the time memorable in history of cultural heritage preservation. First, memorials that were built in glory, in celebration of the events or the persons. So it was invention of historic monument, as François Choet called it. Then monumental, these like a huge or beautiful, over or richly decorated places and buildings and objects that were in fact expression of power, either royal power of kings and rulers, of authorities, or the religious power of those who somehow had the instruments to rule over the people. So everything what was the subject of everyday life was overshadowed with this monumental heritage. And what monumental heritage in all societies that we know expresses? It expresses, among the others, the segregation through the classes, through the rights, through, the availability of different kind of the privileges in this life. The monumental heritage also expresses gender discrimination. Monumental sites are those where the masculinity, the power is expressed. And heritage that was maintained, kept as by the family life, by women, that was the most important for children to be raised in neighborhoods. This small heritage was totally overshadowed. And in a contemporary time, this is a new, like a perception of heritage. Then we have dark heritage. That was also not something that was recognized. So there are some World Heritage sites as concentration camps from the Second World War, the Holocaust, the places of the darkest, like perpetuation of the crimes of Holocaust, genocide, etc. Some places that are places where the darkest parts of history concerning slavery took place are also World Heritage places. We call that dark heritage, when these like topophobia is linked with them, when they testify on suffering of people and trauma. And the sort of expanding of the perception of heritage in contemporary time goes into understanding that heritage should not be people-centered approach, that nature has its own rights, that the different kind of rocks, mountains, rivers in some cultures are in fact the subjects in heritage with their own rights, and that also different living communities beyond humans, different communities like fauna, different visible and invisible animals, living organisms, etc., have their own rights, and that they also have to be considered as the part of heritage ecosystem. The authorized heritage discourse, that means the policy documents, make this typology of heritage. We have tangible heritage, that means physical, which can be movable or immovable. And it includes buildings, objects, sites, archives, collections, monuments, memorials, places, archaeological elements, etc. It also includes, in contemporary perception, landscapes and cities and urban complexes and rural complexes. So we call them usually cultural landscapes. There is even concept of historic urban landscape, routes that are sort of linking sites that are not physically connected and making some kind of a sense of meaning of a heritage, and also the heritage that is produced in this nexus between natural and cultural heritage, like water, soil, biodiversity, climate memory, etc. Intangible heritage is the other, let's say, group, if we can say, of heritage types that is about knowledge, rituals, skills, language. And now we have the whole group of digital algorithmic heritage, records, platforms, data, artificial intelligence outputs that are becoming heritage, that are entering as a heritage and also influencing work with heritage and heritage work. What I would like to stress here, I listed these types, and this is authorized heritage discourse. But types are useful when we study, when we decide what to do. They are useful when they do not separate what life connects and keeps connected. So each of these types is porous. They are not separated from each other. They exist together. They not only superimpose each other and overlap each other, but they are a combination that makes a heritage. So before heritage, before the definition, understanding the notion of heritage or invention of historic monument, there was a human impulse that existed. So we did not invent this, but it was not recognized because before modern time, let's say before Renaissance, we consider that the modern time starts with Renaissance. Some others say that it is 19th century industrial revolution that marks the starting of the modern time. Before the modern time, people lived in continuity. They didn't feel that heritage belongs to past, but that it belonged to them. So this kind of memory as the part of the continuity, and also the collectivity was extremely important for this traditional way of life. And it implied care, and this care was in fact also implied gradual changes. So the earlier practices often sustained continuity rather than separating a frozen past from the present. If someone wants, I can describe why I use this miniature concerning one, like a sacred place that was, how this in 7th century, this like reconstruction and recovery was going on and how people considered it. So the modern heritage field, as I said, did not invent it. The past becomes some kind of evidence through the history. And modern heritage emerges as an expression of modernist perception of past as a foreign country in modernism. So there was a break in continuity and collectivity. The whole modernism is in fact marked with this anthropocentrism, polycentric cities, and breaking the continuity. So the whole history of cultural heritage perception is in fact can be reflected in this constant debate, restore or preserve, between interventionism that Viollet-le-Duc, the French philosopher, architect, and restorer, in fact, introduced into the doctrine and history of heritage. He insisted that completeness should be recovered, that stylistic unity is legible to be demanded during this. And probably you remember Viollet-le-Duc was the one who did the restoration of the 19th century restoration of the Notre Dame in Paris, and that during this recent fire, this flechette that he added for the sake of stylistic unity was destroyed. The other approach was in fact advocated or introduced into the theory and practice by Ruskin and William Morris, John Ruskin and William Morris, who were British promoters of protecting surviving evidence, resisting any falsification and any restoration if possible, and care for fabric before decay becomes ruin. So Ruskin is famous for the sentence that we do not have right to touch them, meaning monuments, because they do not belong to us. We received them from our forefathers, and we are responsible to enable that our children, that our progeny receives them in the condition in which we found them. So that is very strict approach. So the international heritage policy in 1930s started somehow challenging and responding to the challenges of this definition of heritage. So we have these anchor documents, 1931 Athens Charter, that in fact mentions setting of these monumental buildings as important, and also need for external international exchange and expertise that did not exist before that. After the Second World War, 1954, a Hague Convention that is on the protection of cultural heritage in armed conflicts and wars, in its preamble says that the damage to any heritage place, monument, as it said in the preamble, whoever it belongs to or wherever it is situated, I'm making some kind of the paraphrasing, is damage to the whole mankind, because it in fact embodies the values of the whole mankind. In 1964, the Venice Charter, in fact, introduced the notion of authenticity, evidence as something that is needed, and insisted that no conjecture on scientifically based restoration. Venice Charter said that no reconstruction at the archaeological sites should be allowed. And that is something that is standard until today. At the archaeological sites, no reconstruction. So this transborder international responsibility for heritage and the values that are universal was in fact accepted and conventionalized through the 1972 World Heritage Convention. That has its operational guidelines that are ever-evolving instrument accepting all the changes in perception of heritage. So today we ask the questions about the heritage as a not only embodying historic and artistic values like Venice Convention in 1964 said, but multiple values. Some of them are listed here at this like a circle. None of them is more important than the other. Some of these values are instrumental and some are intrinsic. It is important to ask the questions, why this place matter today? To whom does it matter today? How is value expressed and sustained? So this is some kind of a timeline of, developing from monument to an area, to town, to landscape and system, how the geography of the protection was widening. And this is a timeline of, development and what we have today as dealing with heritage. So there are some kind of thresholds. The Venice Charter was one, like a cornerstone at this timeline, that in fact perceived international value of heritage, need for scientific approach, to the importance of authenticity, etc. However, in 1975, Amsterdam Declaration widened it to the importance of heritage for development. So the notion of integrated heritage and also the meaning of this so-called small heritage, what is primitive and vernacular, industrial heritage, etc., was introduced in 1970s. That was also developed through the 1985s and 7 Granada and Washington documents, policy documents. Then we had like expanded into historic towns. In 2011, UNESCO published the historic urban landscape as a tool for reconciliation between heritage perpetuation and protection and development. So insisting that heritage is living, that it serves to us today, that it is product of context, that is multi-layered context, and that it should like be integrated into sustainable development, not integrated, it should also be an agent of sustainable development in a way that cities develop, do not stop in development, but keep the character defining attributes of the values so that they keep their uniqueness. In 2016, we had a new urban agenda about sustainable cities that, in fact, further developed the historic urban landscape approach. And in 2018, CURE, that is culture-based urban recovery, and FAR documents of ICROM anticipated conflicts, destruction, and disasters that are a result of climate change and this polarization in the world as the main challenge. And there are some kind of, they are addressed in these policy documents. Then the toolkits were further on developed. So if we are talking about doctrinal shift, it goes from the monument to complex area to the site, property, town, landscape, and today we talk about resilience and recovery building. One of the documents that I would like to bring into your attention is Faro Convention, which talks about significance of heritage for society. And the definitions of cultural environment, heritage community, that is self-defining community of everyone who assigns the values to the sites, to some objects, to some heritage expressions. That is, in fact, the community that crosses the rigid borders, any borders of geography, nationality, religion, etc. And heritage is, in fact, the tool of forming them. Also, the Sustainable Development Goals that all of you are very familiar with are having several, like Sustainable Development Goal 11 that talks about the sustainable cities, but also this Sustainable Development Goal 16 that UNESCO finds as extremely important, that talks about peace, justice, and strong institutions. And UNESCO, in fact, developed in its policy document the integration of a sustainable development perspective into the processes of the World Heritage Convention. That the heritage is, in fact, inherent agent of peace building, and that also the peace processes, peace formatting and peace building should also address heritage and protect it. If I can give you some kind of my analytical synthesis of definition of heritage today, how can we define heritage today? It is not quotation for any treaty, but some kind of a synthesis, is that heritage is a living system of values, meanings, knowledge, practices, relationships, and material, spatial or ecological attributes through which people recognize, negotiate, and transmit what matters across generation. So from object through significance, through relationships and responsibility, heritage has become a strong agent that addresses the processes in contemporary world. So I think that I should stop here. Am I right?
Yes, thank you so much for your inspiring presentation. I was following the questions that was given. So maybe I can read some of them. So the first question we had in the chat is, how can cultural heritage be curbed when survival of the fit and scrambling for power is the order of the day?
Can you please read it once again?
Yes, I can.
Maybe I
write
can
in the
find
chat.
it in a...
Yes, it was in the first part. I'll write again. We'll take this question.
How can cultural heritage be cured when survival of the fit? I'm not sure that I understand what is the
Who
fit,
asked the
and
question?
scrambling for power is the order of the day. That is the question that is, in fact, one of the, let's say, I'm trying to find the better post, so it seems that I'm too much blurred for you. I don't know if I will be. So it is the question that that we dealing with heritage are in fact faced on a daily basis with. How can we deal with heritage? And it is impossible to impose anything through as I said, there is the presence of not only direct violence of a war going on, etc., but also of structural violence and cultural violence that are opposing this approach to heritage as an agent of cohesion between the people, as agent of peace, as an agent of all these processes. So participatory approach, working with children, working with people, treating heritage as a trauma healing agent, as a strong trauma healing agent. And we have a lot of experiences concerning that. Having some kind of a networks of young people like you, sharing knowledge, sharing experience, developing new methods of heritage perpetuation. There are some methods that have been developed from the adversities. I can list just two of them that I have learned from Bosnian and Palestinian experience. For example, the places, if heritage without people atrophies, and a lot of villages, places, homes, monuments were not abandoned, but left alone and obsolete due to the expulsion or killing people, uprooting them, or what is called ethnic cleansing. And the empty villages and homes are exposed to deterioration. They need some kind of a presence of humans. Also, the third generation, even now the fourth generation in Palestine, and in Bosnia as well, have kept their relationship, and in Armenia as well. We know that they have kept their relationship to that heritage places as something that is that is necessary for their lives today, to be situated in the world, and they invent. So in Palestine, there is some kind of pilgrimage to the homes. On a yearly basis, these third generation, people that have not been born in these homes, they go to a village from which their grandfathers, grandmothers were expelled, visiting their home, spending time there, like some kind of a greeting their home, like in Bosnia, with the greetings of peace that are traditional greetings, and like treating the home as the subject that has its own right, but also taking this energy of the link that persists, praying at the sites where their mosques were. And this pilgrimage is the method of perpetuation, new like a method of pilgrimage. The other is taking fragments from the heritage places that they cannot live with, that are destroyed, taking with themselves, saving them, and these fragments undertake the meaning of the heritage places. So the pieces from the church in which their grandfathers were baptized and grandmothers before they as children were expelled, they collect these fragments, they keep it as their home, as connection with the church. And that's what I call in a theory, when after my research, that is the method of synecdoche in cultural heritage protection. This synecdoche is something that is borrowed from the language studies, when fragment undertakes the meaning of the whole, when one word undertakes the meaning of the sentence or the text. So that is one of the method. And of course, once when you come back, that is the experience that I have experienced with these communities whose lives are scrambled. The work on heritage is some kind of like recollecting the fragments of their own lives together and establishing this sense of community again, belonging to a community and belonging to a world. So participatory approach is important. So
Hello.
then there is another question.
Yes.
Yeah, hello.
Uh,
Can I speak, please?
yeah, speaking would be better, maybe.
Yeah.
Although, if you are not, there is Aisha Parveen,
Yes, we
who
have
has,
some people who raised
maybe
hands.
after I read, or do you want just to reflect on this, what I said, on
No,
these matters?
I have a question. So can I ask?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. So my name is Musab. I'm from Palestine. So
Oh.
thank you so much for this nice decision. So, and I'm proud we are talking about Palestine, about the heritage and like diverse culture and like how are the communities dealing with the and holding the like heritage. So I have written the question, but I want to speak it again fastly. So as you know, they're like with the enrichment heritage as we hold in our culture. I see heritage as active and daily tool for memories. So my question is, what the single most important mindset shift modern heritage professional to make it truly serve communities living through conflict and pressure? So how can modernized or how can development or what is the mindset shift can do?
What this mind shift can do, or what is the mind shift that
What
is
is
the
the
most
single
important
most
in my
yeah.
perception? So,
Yeah.
mind shift is made by the people who are, let's say, a stronger part of the humankind,
Yeah.
more
Right.
persistent with a
Mm.
clear objective.
Yeah.
However, when we talk about the figures, probably at the moment, these people who stand behind this mind shift are
Yeah.
minority in numbers.
Yeah.
Although the numbers are always abstract and they do not mean a lot. Mossab, where are you from in Palestine?
I'm
From
from
which?
Gaza actually. Now
From
I'm like
Gaza.
staying in India. Yeah. So I'm doing my PhD. So
Ah.
I lived in the first week of the war. That's why. So I'm from Gaza actually. Yeah, South
Mhm.
Gaza. Yeah.
We have someone from Gaza in our summer school. So I invite everyone to apply for the summer school next year. It's
Yeah,
really
for sure.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like,
This
it's
will
really
be
interesting. Yeah.
very good. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there is Aisha. Do you want me to
Thank you.
read or to, maybe someone can, everyone can like put the question in oral? Anna, what do you say? You are the.
Yes, so the question I copied pasted the one
Ma'am, I would
earlier.
like to read that question. Can I?
Yes.
Yeah. Uh, um, I'm Aisha Parveen from India, and I'm a Wikimedian in residence at IIT Delhi. I work on documenting and preserving cultural heritage through Wikimedia project. And like as someone working on documenting cultural heritage through Wikimedia, I often face situations where freedom of panorama does not exist. So we cannot legally photograph and digitize certain heritage sites. In such case, in such cases, what strategies or best practices would you recommend for preserving and documenting cultural heritage while respecting copyright laws? And I believe that heritage is connected with knowledge, and knowledge should be accessible for everyone. Like someone who is in for example, someone who is in India, like they are able to see the monuments, they are able to witness everything, but someone in United Kingdom or in Palestine, they are not able to see that. So in such cases, how we can preserve how we can preserve the things and like digitize it and publicly show it to everyone?
Oh, yeah, that's very interesting question, because the accessibility to culture and cultural heritage is one of the basic human rights. So if the public institutions are developing any kind of inventories and documents, their public accessibility, because they are public institutions, they are budgeted, the people are in fact funding them. The result of their work and all archives and documents should be accessible, publicly accessible. I worked as a commissioner to preserve national monuments in Bosnia and Herzegovina, what is the highest, let's say, public position concerning cultural heritage in a central institution. And during my term, in fact, all the documents that were produced as decisions to designate national monuments, photos, recordings, etc., were accessible in English, Bosnian, Croatian, and Serbian on web, and anyone can use them with the proper crediting, of course. But the intention was to make a knowledge and awareness about heritage and heritage values, and also use purpose of these documents for the proper approach to heritage by the conservators, etc., possible. So that's what I believe in. And those who restrict this right, I think that they are at the side of this structural violence, making heritage as something that does not belong to those who wish to attribute values to it. And that is against the Faro Convention. So I feel very powerless concerning the structural violence that becomes higher and higher in the world. We can see every day, if you watch TV, what is better not to watch TV and look at the media. But what we can do is sharing between us, developing the webs, the networks, and also publication by those who work at heritage on everything what they find and everything what they do is some kind of responsibility and also obligation to publish everything and to make it publicly accessible. If you work on a conservation project, it's your duty to publish what you found, what you did, and why. And that's the answer that I can give now. You made me a little bit, surprised with that, but although I live that reality as you do, Aisha.
Exactly. Thank you so much, ma'am. And I have another question. Can I ask it?
I don't know,
We don't
Anna.
have, we don't have much time left, and we have
Like
other.
it's just a small question.
Okay.
Yeah. So the question is how UNESCO approaches digital heritage preservation.
Oh, that's the answer is not small.
Yes.
And
Oh,
I
I'm so
suggest,
sorry.
there is in ICROM, I don't know if you are aware, in ICROM there was a huge project on preservation of digital heritage, which ICROM is advisory body to the World Heritage Committee. So I suggest you to look for that and for writings of some people from ICROM like Aparna Tandon,
Thank you
who
so much.
worked on that.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
not an
Thank you.
expert for preservation of digital heritage, but of course I am expert
We will
of
have a
heritage.
session about digital transformation, so you will have
So
the chance
digital
to.
transformation is something else, but digital heritage and preservation of digital heritage is a totally new field that has to be addressed, and UNESCO, ICROM, ICOMOS are dealing with that. And there are some kind of a guidance, etc. And I do not think that we have a time and that I am the best person to answer to that because my knowledge is panoramic, not deep.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We have Naved here. You can ask your question. Naved Sarkisian.
Yes. Hvala, gospodi Haji Muhammadovich. Thank you so much for the very interesting presentation, and I highly value the knowledge that you have shared with us. I have actually 3 questions, and perhaps I can also introduce myself. I am a member of a public council under the Minister of Education, Culture, Sports, and Science in Armenia. And my first question goes to the Nagorno-Karabakh because it's a painful sort of wound for Republic of Armenia citizens, because there is a lack of access to the heritage sites of Nagorno-Karabakh, and people cannot access it, and the history is being faked because very obviously Armenian churches with Armenian scriptures are being named as Udi scriptures, which is a Christian minority in Azerbaijan. So this is first question, whether that is a violation of UNESCO convention as well as the FARA convention, as you have mentioned. And the second question, what is the consequences of violating those conventions? How the states are kept responsible for violating those conventions? And the third question is, I live in a small town called Ashtarak, which has a lot of historical monument sites, which is currently being destroyed by the local community, meaning the municipality. And I have raised the issue with the local government.
Through development.
Including development, not necessarily include, but it's also lack of knowledge, and because the UNESCO convention, I think it's 72 convention, 1972, clearly calls for the care. It defines care as also the knowledge and transferring the knowledge from generation to generation, right? And it's not being observed in our community. And I was wondering whether there is any experience that perhaps you can share where on a community level we can act to preserve those heritage. Thank you. It's a bit long.
This is the second question. You said 3 questions, or
yes, the first one is the Artsakh heritage.
Nagorno-Karabakh?
Exactly, yeah. The first one is the violation, like how the states are being kept responsible. Second one is the violation of UNESCO and FARA conventions. And what if the state violates those conventions? What are the consequences? Okay. And the third question is what community level experience you can share with us where the municipality is destroying and the society is trying to preserve. Is there any experience you can share with us, or model of advocacy?
I thought that the first question was about how to sort of react to the destruction, appropriation, and the lack of approach to the heritage in Nagorno-Karabakh by Armenians. Is it correct? So when you do not have approach to heritage places, then, as I said, heritage atrophies, it is exposed to destruction, and we have discussed a lot how to do, what the people who attribute their values, who are attached to that heritage, what they can do in these situations when they feel powerless. That nothing you can physically. So what are some things that are, let's say, can be done outside of the institutions by the communities, by those who are directly involved, is in fact collecting, archiving all documents about that heritage, archiving the oral testimonies of those who remember them, who lived there, the carriers of knowledge, because the time passes. They are, these people are dying. So the original, all the memories, all the photos, all the surveys that have existed, and organizing some kind of the let's say, virtual heritage. I do not mean virtual in terms of being like, how is it called, the technologically virtual, but something like that is not at the site. The other, what we considered as extremely important, hoping that heritage can be restored and reconstructed once when there is a documentation, because without documentation and the proofs and land registers, etc., it might be extremely difficult. So this kind of forensics has to be done, even if there are any kind of the proofs of its destruction, etc. They should be documented. The whole files should be done. And the other instrument is having funds. So preparing funds, hoping that the moment will come when the justice will prevail, and that these documents will serve to recovery and funds will be needed. Also, the third, what is extremely important, is increasing the capacities of people, knowledge, those who are aware of that and who are able to explore the methods, because the methods, the theories are born in when you face adversities. So you Armenians, attached to heritage from Nagorno-Karabakh, you are those who know the best how much, what is the significance, what are the values that you attribute, what are the attributes of these values. And you will be able to make innovative approach to perpetuate it in order that you as a community survive, that it is some kind of enabler of your persistence in the world. The other part of the question, what international court can do, international crime court can do, and what UNESCO can do. So this is also the question that we were very frustrated with, because International Criminal Court took into consideration only those places that were, and UNESCO, in fact, was legitimizing that those that were registered as the sites under the special protection in accordance to the Hague Convention Protocol 2. And that means that you have to prepare a nomination file for them, to nominate them to be inscribed, to be registered in UNESCO, and that this demands some kind of capacities, documentation, time, teams, etc., interest, and to define the protection border in this and buffer zone. In this border, it is not allowed that the state party undertakes any military actions, or that the occupying party or the attacking, let's say, party, there is this kind of protection, that is the state party that where the heritage place is located, and so that is protection, and respect has to be included with all the measures by the party who is in fact attacking or occupying party. In the situation of Nagorno-Karabakh, you have this situation in which it is the Azerbaijan territory. And that is extremely complex, and that is something that has to be raised. How the heritage of people who do not have access, who are not citizens of the state party that is member of UNESCO, have obligation to protect the heritage of the people who attach their values to it. That's the basic human right. And this can be raised as the basic human right. So International Crime Tribunal is now developing some, the Office of the Public Prosecutor published this document on heritage policies that defines that wherever there is destruction of cultural heritage, there might be a genocide, and analyzed how heritage could have a better treatment in the processes in front of the International Criminal Court. Wherever I worked, where heritage was exposed to this systematic destruction, we were very frustrated. The only cases which were successful were cases from Mali, where this, Mahdi, who was in fact the leader of the group which destroyed, manuscripts, 16 mausoleums, etc. He was in fact processed, and decision of the court was that he has to pay, I don't remember exactly, I think 2 million by himself, and also imprisoned, and etc., etc. So it was some kind of example. But can we at the moment expect that the states which are the members, Mahdi was not the representative of state, which is the member of the UN General Assembly, which is the member of UN, can we expect that states that are committing such kind of a violence, structural violence and direct violence, will be at the court? We tried in Bosnia. We tried. Croatia tried also. There were some other processes. I think that they can be used as some kind of examples that shift has to be made, that this legal system has to be improved, and the pressure to the legal system has to be done. However, these liberal mechanisms are pretty weak these days. We can see that in UN loses the power due to the let's say the state of condition concerning the global politics. Can we expect, for example, that Russia will be at the court because of destruction of heritage in Ukraine?
Maybe.
Maybe,
Maybe.
yeah. Let us hope that everyone who destroys. Can we expect that Israel can be at the court? Yeah, there are some processes, but will they be responsible? Let us see. And the others, we will go into the politics, and heritage is much, let's say, wider than politics, and heritage is a healing, has a power to heal the wrongdoing politics. And I think insisting on the values embedded in heritage is something that links people, that crosses the border, that can help to heal trauma and to stop violence is our mission. And that's my, let's say, vision in why I do this, not because of stones, mortars, and bricks. And tomorrow you will have Anna Verdoljak, who is an expert, legal expert in this. Ask her this question.
Yes, thank you so much. Our time is up and we won't be able to answer anymore because the questions are many.
Yeah,
or if you want to answer maybe one more question and we finish.
I don't know which one. There are a lot of questions. Maybe you can send me Britain.
Okay.
Who gives the validation for involvement into country's affair? Is getting.
Some of the questions can be answered by other speakers.
This is also Anna's question for
Yes.
Anna.
Okay.
So she's a legal expert. I'm more like concerning the heritage perception, work with heritage, work with community, etc. So keep these questions for Anna.
For tomorrow, yes. So I want to say thank you so much for this wonderful presentation.
If there is any kind of a, let's say, pressing question that someone wants to ask, I'm at your disposal. Anyone with a very pressing question?
Hi, I want to say something. Can you hear me? I am Sumega. I'm saying something. Yeah, so for like a while from when the questioning has started, there is this girl, Aditi Pandey. She has texted the question a lot of time. I think she is an introvert and she's not just opening the mic and speaking the question. But from her side, I do want to address her question. So she has asked that many traditional art forms face challenges like declining practitioners and low public awareness. From your experience, what successful collaboration models help living heritage stay relevant and authentic? And I think I relate with her because with so much digitalization, many local forms have been vanishing and it is turning into a minority. So according to you, what can be done to preserve them?
All across the world, all across the world. So,
Yes.
it has to be situated in the context. It has to be situated in the context. And I think that working on a small scale is effective rather than seeing, this like a huge scale of the problems, working on addressing problem by problem, person by person, knowledge carriers, taking this knowledge, recording, asking, transmission of this knowledge, village by village, person by person, village by village, object by object. I think it helps. It is better than, looking very frustrating a panoramic situation that is frustrating all across the world. And I think that also there is ICROM, some ICROM initiatives that were done concerning that. And in this International Summer School Youth and Heritage, we are working on developing some kind of methods to learn from this traditional wisdom and to appropriate this traditional wisdom for the demands today. So a lot of climate change challenges can be addressed better if we go and look for the knowledge that has not been transmitted, because during the modernization, the modern time that I said, that was some kind of a cutting with tradition, they were, let's say, undervaluated. The people were ashamed to talk about this traditional wisdom, and they were rather using, let's say, reinforced concrete than something that really makes the building having its homeostasis, being negotiating with nature. And the same is with the rituals, the same is with respect to nature, etc. So going back, catching that knowledge, transmitting, but what I think is the best, as I said, starting from small scale. Anything what you do is a step forward. Small steps can make change.
My heartfelt appreciation to Kectil, I believe, because it was a time where I was so immersed into this conversation, because in such a deeper manner, nobody has time. And now in this generation, if we see everybody is so busy and explaining minute to minute details, I really appreciate Sumedha, I really appreciate Amra, Anna, and Kectil for reminding us that cultural heritage is not only about preserving history, but about building understanding, collaboration, and hope for future generations. And this feels so inspiring and motivating to see everyone from different parts of world connecting through this a very small platform. But this is surely inspiring. And I really was drawn into this conversation that I really forgot that what was my question. But then definitely it had become a opportunity for all us to connect. So again, thanks.
So
Thanks a lot.
let's stay in touch. Let's stay in touch. Let's
Obviously.
develop this as some kind of a network that is important. And Blamor, Omar, I think that there is another. Is it pressing issue, Blamor? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name properly.
I think here.
Are you getting me?
We can't hear you well.
Hello.
I think he has
Hello.
some questions.
So I think, yeah, not in
Yeah. It seems that we probably will have to stop here.
Yes.
We cannot hear you,
Yeah.
Lama. Maybe you are muted or.
Unfortunately, we have to finish.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for this inspiring presentation, and thank you for active participation. And to remind you that tomorrow we'll continue the second day of our conference. Join us at 11 a.m. Central European Time. We'll discuss about cultural peace building, legal protection, and international heritage action. So thank you once again, and have a wonderful evening, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Stay in touch. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you.
So guys, don't forget to fill in your attendance form. Please, 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 don't forget. Before you leave, fill in your attendance form.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Thank you. I'm from Liberia. Thank you too. I appreciate.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.